I would now like to introduce our opening speaker, Mr. Clay Brittain III. He'll be providing an icebreaker on the theme of the event, bringing the community together. Clay is a native of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. He attended Myrtle Beach High School and Wofford College, receiving a BS in economics from Wofford in 1977. He graduated from the University of South Carolina School of Law in 1980 to begin a 35-year career in law. He started as a clerk and then a lawyer in Columbia. In the late 1980s, he returned to his hometown, Myrtle Beach, to a general practice primarily in business law. He focused primarily on closely held companies that operate restaurant, golf, and hospitality businesses. Many of these clients remain in business today. Several continue to be industry leaders and major employers along the Grand Strand. After he retired, Clay's focused on redevelopment efforts in downtown Myrtle Beach, as well as supporting the growth and prosperity of businesses started by his father and his two brothers. A lifelong road cyclist and sailor, Clay continues to enjoy the fabulous marine and outdoor life in Horry and Georgetown counties. He's married to Emma Ruth Helms Brittain from Darlington County, a lawyer as well. They have two sons, Clay and Benjamin, as well as one daughter. Clay IV and his wife Megan live in Houston along with Harper. Ben and his partner Reese Jones reside in Brooklyn, New York. Clay and Emma Ruth have a hard time staying away from Houston and Brooklyn, but continue to pull themselves away from those two cities to retire extensively in their retirement. So please welcome Clay Brittain to the stage.
Good morning. I did not meet President Michael Benson when he first moved here. But since meeting President Benson, I have become a mentor of his. He has become my mentor, excuse me. He may not know that, but one thing he taught me early on is that a good talk needs a good quotation as an introduction. And in addition, he always brought a little flourish to that by bringing the actual source of the quotation to his presentation. So this morning I bought a book I recently read by Andrea Wolf called Magnificent Rebels. And one of the key subjects in that book was Johann von Goethe, and he had this to say about working together. Divide and command, a wise maxim. Unite and guide, better. Divide and command, a wise maxim. Unite and guide, better. There is a subtle increase in power referenced in this quotation. It is my hope that a fuller understanding of this increase in power will reveal itself to you this morning from the presentations that my colleagues and I will make. Before my colleagues speak, I have 3 points to quickly cover with you this morning. The first is that the area which constitutes the Myrtle Beach area needs to define itself and thereby identify its citizens who need to work together, carefully align their goals for the next decade. So my first point will be the Myrtle Beach area needs to define itself and thereby identify its citizens who need to work together and carefully align their goals for the next decade. The second point I'm going to try to quickly go through is the Myrtle Beach area, as I think it will align itself, the Myrtle Beach area is the best way. I'm going to start that over. If we identify the Myrtle Beach area, as I think we will, the best way to approach our neighbors in North Myrtle Beach, Loris, Surfside, and Georgetown County is to work with them to align our goals. The third point I would like to cover with you this morning is that the Myrtle Beach area is not currently on par with Charleston, Columbia, or Greenville-Spartanburg. But we need to start acting like we are, and we need to get there. What does it take to be thought of as being a part of this important group of South Carolina powerhouses. The area which constitutes the Myrtle Beach area needs to define itself, thereby identify its citizens who need to work together and carefully align their goals for the next decade. The state as a whole and the state legislature see Myrtle Beach as including Horry and Georgetown counties. How do we know that? First, people from Georgetown and Horry counties, when traveling internationally, answer the question, where are you from, with Myrtle Beach. I don't think they say Pawleys Island. I don't think they say Loris. I don't think they say Conway. They do that because Myrtle Beach is a brand widely known with an internationally recognized mark. In those circumstances, Myrtle Beach is the answer that actually works. When traveling around the Southeast, I bet most folks answer the question the same way, something like, I'm from Myrtle Beach, or I'm from around Myrtle Beach. Because Horry and Georgetown counties have tourism as their primary industry, we see ourselves as economically united in doing the best job we can for our tourists. We share a common geography in that Horry and Georgetown counties are located together behind 5 rivers that all flow out of the Georgetown Inlet jetties. These rivers divide us from the rest of the state. In sum, we see ourselves as united, and most others do as well. I would like to share 4 big aha moments with you that convinced me that our region, if we can get our 2-county area working together, will pay big dividends. The first aha moment came from thinking through the humble efforts over 70 years ago by community leaders from all over this county to create the educational institutions that our county needed at that time. What began as a united effort in the 1950s has led to Coastal Carolina University and Horry Georgetown Technical College. Economic engines of our success in our region that pay back real economic benefits and cultural dividends to all of our communities every year. The second aha moment comes from the 1960s and 1970s, which were transformational decades for the Myrtle Beach area. In the 1960s and 70s, the leadership at the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce adopted Girder's Unite and Guide strategy. The leaders, which were a diverse group of people from here, went to all of the hotels, motels, bed and breakfasts, guest houses, and convinced each of them that their best shot at more business was to combine their marketing dollars in one colorful, exciting Grand Strand-wide booklet and take their share of the new business which came from that booklet, rather than spending their advertising dollars individually on each little place's brochure and trying to get more business through intercept marketing. Combining forces behind a single, powerful advertising plan focused on family vacations changed the game in the 1960s and 70s here and catapulted the Grand Strand into the go-to place for family vacations along the East Coast. I posit to you that our leaders during that period, Charlie Hodges, Clay Brittain Jr., Cecil Brandon, Buster Bryan, and many others spent a lot of time listening to their peers. I personally witnessed up and close and personal one of my dad's best tactics for building consensus. When I set out to convince him that X was good for me, and he thought why was good for me. He just sat there and listened until I totally ran out of things to say. I don't know what happened in the other long meetings that I sat outside of in the Chesterfield Inn when he was talking to other hoteliers about what we needed to do on the Grand Strand. But I think what he was doing was a lot of listening. Every hotelier during that period had a voice. They were listened to and included in all decisions of the period. Another example of that type of unite and guide was the City of Myrtle Beach's creation of the Beach Committee. Skeeter Nash, Steve Taylor, and all the other committee members through the decades brought a steady hand and consensus-building ethic to protecting our most precious asset, the Big Blue, and the 60 miles of beautiful sandy beaches that enjoy that view. The third aha moment for me came as a Methodist Wofford College student coming back to Columbia to go to law school. I was introduced to the State House leadership by Tommy Brittain, one of my most helpful law school mentors. Probably the only reason I graduated was Tommy Brittain. In those days, House Speaker Rex Carter and other senior House leadership held post-sessions meetings in the State House after each session to discuss the day's successes and failures and the next day's challenges. It so happened that Tommy landed me a job as a page in the very room Speaker Carter held those post-session meetings. The leadership talked each day about the delegations that couldn't get their act together and what it cost them. Charlie Hodges from North Myrtle Beach was singled out as a good listener and a consensus builder. The Myrtle Beach area got what it needed during those days because we were united behind Representative Hodges and his leadership. The fourth aha moment for me came from participation in a group called One Grand Strand. In the mid to late 20-teens, the Myrtle Beach area brand was under siege from viral videos, a non-productive, vacant, and dangerous downtown, and an eroding Myrtle Beach brand. 5 businesses convened using their own money to figure out how to get downtown Myrtle Beach turned around. We decided that the first thing to do was to listen. And as an example of just some of that listening that we did, we asked the statewide lobbyist for the South Carolina Manufacturers Association, Bob McAllister, who had been Governor Carroll Campbell's chief of staff for both his terms, about Horry County and about Georgetown County and what leadership needed to be from our areas. We listened to his responses, and they were, a united delegation is just the first step, but without that first step, you won't get anywhere. Second, according to Bob, there were only 2 policies that really carried weight in the state legislature. The first is supporting business and reducing taxes. We questioned Bob about these issues and how to get on the same page with the rest of the state. We also engaged a professional pollster to canvass the entire Horry County and find out what our people, what everybody here thought about those issues. The second major legislative issue, according to Bob McAllister, is conservation. Through a longtime guest at the Chesterfield Inn, I visited virtually all active environmental groups in the state. I discovered that while many may be considered hair-on-fire type groups, most are focused on preserving our South Carolina lifestyle and the native beauty that supports that lifestyle. So to summarize the lessons that I learned, continuing to go to the state legislature without a united delegation means continued failure. It's not enough for our delegation to be united and speak with one voice while here at home if they go to Columbia and speak independently. It's not enough to cover only the business viewpoint. Our legislature votes for sustainability, which is different from environmentalism, and we must recognize what works on these conservation type issues. My second overall point, which I outlined earlier, is if we identify the Myrtle Beach area, as I think we will, what is the best way to approach our neighbors in Myrtle Beach, Loris, Conway, Surfside, and Georgetown County to work with them and align our goals? First, it will take a real grassroots effort. Grassroots here does not mean that we start from the proposition that we know what is best for our region and then craft a nice and convincing way to lead them to support our goals. This definition of grassroots is wrong primarily because we don't know what's best for these other people. At first, we should listen and listen only. This means reaching out to their business leaders, their faith-based leadership, not just politicians. Once we understand who they are and what they want, we should work with them to build a consensus for what works for all. The citizens of Loris, Aner, and the outlying county areas are fine people with their feet on the ground and good intentions. They like where they live. They like their lifestyle, their friends, their outdoor activities, and their outdoor opportunities. They are very comfortable with what they believe in and the practices and the institutions that sustain their very happy, healthy, productive lifestyles. Myrtle Beach, I-73, those kinds of things are not really important to many of the people who live in those towns and out in the county, except someone in each family group is likely to work over in a coastal area and must commute from home to work at least 5 times a week. Myrtle Beach offers some very attractive entertainment options. Getting to Myrtle Beach to see some of those fabulous entertainment options without a hassle is important. Working together to shorten these commute times is critical to developing a positive dialogue with the rest of our county. In sum, it's critical to listen hard and long to those citizens that our state and our state legislature believe to be one and the same with us. Build a delegation that has a consensus agenda to attack a mutually agreed upon regional plan. What types of common goals might our entire region support? If we wanted to pick 3 or 4 goals to take to the rest of the region, we might look at the 4 pillars that the Chamber's new foundation just suggested. Our Myrtle Beach area Chamber of Commerce just raised $3 million in 9 months to address what business leaders from all around the county viewed as critical. The first was to diversify our economy. Our future is not based on tourism alone. Tourism is always going to be big here, but to be a successful economic engine comparable to Charleston, Columbia, or Greenville-Spartanburg, we must significantly diversify our economy and grow small businesses. The real estate industry is and will remain huge. The medical field may be our biggest opportunity. Tech will continue to grow here and will enable us to keep more of our children and our graduates from moving away. It will draw talented young people to an edgy urban beach area if we are successful in creating that in downtown Myrtle Beach. And that was the second pillar that the Chamber found in canvassing all the business leaders in the county. The heart of our city suffers from disinvestment and neglect. Our inventory for tourists, clean and attractive rooms continues to spiral downwardly. Certain companies here are trailblazers in leading condominium building refits. Certain lenders here are providing credit for those changes. Upgrading infrastructure could be a great byline for the tourism industry. The third pillar is we should attract, develop, and retain talent. The Grand Strand Medical Center, right nearby here, attracts 158 residents each year to move here. Many stay for 3 or 4 years, but most move away by then. It's critical to be able to attract and keep that kind of talent. Fourth, we should scale up our infrastructure. It takes a larger region than just Horry and Georgetown County to get something like I-73. Obtaining infrastructure includes bringing Charleston into the picture and the way people think in Charleston. Does that mean we have to toss out our values to get it? No, but we must broaden our views to include the legislature's view of sustainability. When we enhance and preserve infrastructure that sustains our lifetime, our lifestyle, and our heritage, we are scaling up our most important infrastructure and chances for generational wealth. My third overall point for you this morning is that the Myrtle Beach area is not currently on par with Charleston, Columbia, Greenville, Spartanburg, but we're getting there. And we need to start acting like we're already there. What does it look like to be thought of as being a part of this important group? First, you must be seen working with them, not against them. We have carried that independent spirit of the Republic of Horry County, the independent republic, building a broad coalition around rural and other mid-sized cities to counteract the tremendous power of the Big Three. That has not been working well in the past few years. We need to do something differently. We need to unite and guide. In addition to the growth in the 60s and 70s based on Grand Strand cooperation, we should consider the local cooperation that brought us golf, tennis, the Beach Ball Classic, and sports tourism. Our region is a strong economic revenue producer for the state of South Carolina. Unfortunately, our tourists can't vote. And the tax dollars we collect do not match the amounts that are returned here. In sum, it is crucial that our businesses and civic communities stand together throughout the two-county area in advocating what is best for our region and to address our region's needs for all our citizens and for those who visit us.